today what we're going to do is we're going to make a energy drink side burner stove. So the benefit of this stove, a little tiny thing, it's great for small pots, great for big pots, and it only weighs 9 grams. Hard to believe, I know. So 9-gram pot. Now I'm going to show you how to make it with 2 cans. You can make it with 1 can, similar to the Elite stove, if you've heard of that, but it's quite hard. So I'll just show you first of all with 2, and then afterwards I'll show you a little reason why it's hard to make it with 1. Okay, so let's get into what we need. Alright, let's work left to right here. If you have a piece of pen and paper, you don't need a calculator, but I find it's easier. A calculator, a pair of pliers, not essential, but I use it because I find it helps me put it together. A pair of tin snips, a pair of scissors will do, but I like to use these because these are my workshop scissors. A ruler, and preferably something with centimeters, and centimeters because I find doing the math is easier on centimeters than with inches. Then you've got a craft knife. You can get away without a craft knife, but I found it much easier to at least start the cuts with a craft knife. Then we have 2 cans, 2 energy drink cans, so they're the narrow cans, and a marker of some kind, and I keep 2 books. In fact, I find it easier if you have 3 books on hand for doing the cutting. So I say for doing the measuring. Alright, so let's look into this bit by bit, and we'll start with the cans. Now this is something of a trick that you can use on most cans. Alright, but what I like to do is measure the can just to make sure you got the measurements right. Alright, now this says from point to tip about 13. Now 13 centimeters. One of the problems with that is that you've got this rim and you're not going to be able to use it right to the end, so just keep that in mind. So we've got 13 centimeters. I'm just going to do the math. 13, you're going to divide that by 3. Now that gives you 4.3 centimeters. Now keep that in mind because that's going to make our first mark. Alright? 4.3 centimeters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the bottom of this can. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark 4 1/3 centimeters. So approximately here. Alright, now what I'm next going to do is I'm going to mark another 4.3, which is going to be a bit bigger than that. Actually, I'm going to do 4.5. You'll see why. 4.5 centimeters, and that's going to be your inside, your double wall in your second piece. I'm going to put that to one side. I'm going to take my other can, wherever I put it. There it is. And I'm going to do the same, 4.3 centimeters from the bottom. Alright, so that's your first step, and next you can just set up your jig for cutting. So what I do is I've set these up like this, first of all, and that allows me a fixed point, if I'm not putting a lot of weight on it, that I can spin like that and mark exact measurements. So next I'll do is I'll take this and I'll line it up with that point that I marked. Alright, so as you can see, right here is my mark that I marked out before, and I'm going to line up this top book here so that it allows my pen to rest right against that. And then it's just a matter of using your fingers to spin it. As you can see, it lines up right there. Double check in case I missed some spots. Oh, what happened there? There you go. There you go. So I've got my straight edge right around there, and I'm just going to do it with the other can, and then we can get to cutting. There you go. So that's there. Now I'm going to get these books out of the way. And you've got it all done here now. We're going to get to the next steps. That's where we take our craft knife. What I found is it's cut right in there. But before you do it all the way around, it's worth cutting both lines a bit. The reason I do that is because once you get rid of one part of the can, it loses its structure and it's really hard to cut in a straight line. So the first one, you can just get a nice, decently sharp knife. I sharpen this regularly, especially after I cut metal with it. And try to stay on the center of the line as much as possible. That last bit there, take out your scissors, finish it off. Now I've already started this one off, and I'll just show you. It's hard to, it's doable for the most part once it's already been cut first, but if you try to cut that without having, after you cut off the first piece, it just gets really hard. Alright. Okay, there's this part. Alright, so we've got the first can done. I'm just going to go prep the second one. Now this is a quick and dirty one. If you want, I'll show you, you can take your pair of snips and trim it off to make it even. Alright, so what I've got now is I've got two bottom parts and a middle part right there. And what you're going to be doing is you're going to be putting this in and inside here, and we're going to make it a bit smaller first so that it fits in there. Alright, now to do that, you got to do a bit of math. Alright, now you want to take this little ring right here on the bottom of the can, and you're going to be doing your bit of math. You're going to take your diameter. I'm probably going to do this wrong, and I'm going to say that's about 45 millimeters. And you're going to find the circumference. 45 millimeters times it by 3.14. You get 141. So that's the diameter of this ring here. Now this guy, of course, is a bit bigger than that. Now what we want to do to make it the right size is, first of all, we're going to divide in two. And we get 70. Okay? Now you're going to take this piece right here. Let's make sure I'm centered. Yeah. You're going to take this piece right here, and you're going to crimp one of the edges as straight as possible. Cut this bit off. Alright, and this is a bit, try to get it straight as possible, and what you find is that this is 80 and we want it to be 70. So I'm going to take my marker, mark it at 70. Alright, now what this allows me to do, if I fold it along this line, alright, that should make this the diameter I need. Now to make sure, now that you've folded that over like that, so what I did is I took the measurement that I wanted, half of it, and I folded that over along that line that I made, and there you've got it. To make this fit better in the stove, I'm going to crimp that edge, and you can see it's a lot nicer now. Alright, and so that's what it looks like, and you pop that inside. Sure enough, that fits perfectly in there, and you see these walls are very close. Now the benefit of that is if the walls are close, then it means that there's less time needed to prime it, because what happens is you light it on fire, it starts to boil the alcohol fuel, and the gas it's stuck between these walls and it has to come out the side burners, and I'll show you that in a minute. Now, before you put them together, you have to do the final step, and that is to cut out this ring. So what you do is you take this top piece, this is a cut by the way, you take this top piece, and to make your hole, what you do is you take your knife or your tin snips or something with a bit of an edge, and you press along the inside here. Now, the key is not to push too hard. You're not trying to cut through on the first bit, you're just trying to score it. Alright? So once you've worked that around enough and you've got a nice solid ring, take your time about it, like I said. Just work your knife, just do a little seesaw action, bit of an angle, be careful, take your time, do it slowly. If you do it too quickly, what's going to happen is you're going to jam right through the outside wall of your stove. Alright, just get a little hole there. And try to keep along the line. I ran out of space on my camera, and I did this the first time and it worked quite well. But I gotta do this again for you. Okay. Alright. Hopefully this will do it. Push in the middle, allow it to flex like that, and then it should separate right along there. See that? Perfect. Alright, so that is your perfect ring. And the next job that you're going to have to do is put this all together. So you've got this. Now, how do you get these two cans together? Well, what I like to do is I take your pliers, you take your scissors, and you run it along this edge here. Right, on the inside, and this is on the top piece, so not the bottom piece which I've put here, but the top piece. Right, now that, hopefully you can see that still, and that flares the edges and makes it a bit easier to connect the two. And then you'd put these two together, and you can see very tight fit. If you try to put these two pieces together, they don't work so well. It's quite hard. You start, like I showed you, you start working it out, making it a flared top piece. Again, if you take the bottom piece though, and about an 1/8 inch down, you turn it in, so you twist it in and turn it. See that? For the benefit of turning it when you are twisting, even these little points will be smaller radius or smaller diameter than the can itself. So just to give you an example, I'm not going to finish this one off, but you've got that in there, and you'll find that it almost no difficulty. That'll slide in together. You see that there? And that you just slide it all the way up. Alright? I'll show you this other one now that I just finished. When you get it to the top, you'll find that the inner can might be not fitting the rim. Just push it down tight and then just use your finger, run it around the inside, and that'll pop the second wall, this inner wall, in and inside this little ridge, because that's what you want to make sure is there. Alright, so we have our stove here. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on there. It's actually 8 ounces it's weighing, not 9. Alright, so here it is running now. I find to prevent what they call cold pot flare out, which is what happens is if this pot is cold, then, and this stove is resting right on top, it means it's easier for the pot to the stove to go out. I put a bit of hardware cloth, this stuff here. This stuff, I put a small square of it over top of the stove, and it solves all the problems. Again, if you're I'm going to switch this out for a minute and let you see the single can stove, which is pretty much the same, but see, it works. There we are, the single can stove. There you go, it's starting to, what they call blossom, which is when these side burner stones start coming, lighting on fire from the sides. So immediately what I can see is that millimeter less of space in between the two walls in the stove means that it primes a lot more quickly. You might see people, and if you're trying to do this, just wave a bit and it spreads out the gas and allows them to ignite more quickly. As you can see, it's starting to burn pretty quickly. Quick blossom time. Alright, see that? So that much more efficient. If there's enough comments on here, I'll make a DIY especially for the single can stove for those who wanted it a bit clearer. Well, this is Paul from the Outdoor Adventure. I hope you enjoyed this DIY and I hope you have a good experience with it. Of course, as always, be careful, don't cut yourself, and have fun.